Huntress number 4, written by Paul Levitz, art by Marcus Toe. We left off last issue with Huntress nearly getting her ass handed to her by one of Moretti's muscle guys, or maybe it was the other chairman guy. I don't know. Regardless, she almost lost, but she swore vengeance on Moretti. So this issue picks up with her in a speedboat, Mediterranean Sea. And she goes up basically straight up to Moretti's ship, and she's like, "Hey, random guy on the edge of the ship, can I come up for a drink?" And the guy who's just a henchman is just like, "Oh, but if you come by the convent tonight, I'll go ahead and get you something there." And she's like, "Oh, okay, I guess that's fine. Bye." She's like, "All right, well, I know they're going to be tonight, so that's cool." She goes back into the Marina Harbor area, and she's talking to her reporter friends who basically are just like, "Are you sure you want to be doing this? Like, it's a very quiet town, and there are now armed guards everywhere because of Moretti and also, I guess, the chairman coming into town." And Huntress is like, I mean, Pompey, that last issue, not as easy to isolate him. But this time, he's got a false sense of security because of his guards. So I'm thinking we're going to be fine. So it cuts to later that night. She basically scales her way up the building. She has one of her reporter friends play distraction by running up to the ambassador, being like, "Oh, is there any word on the chairman getting asylum here in Italy?" And he's like, "Oh, no comment, blah, blah, blah." And just running distraction. And we see the inside conversation between Moretti and the one brother who came from Kufra. And basically, they just actively are like, "Here's all the reasons that we're horrible scumbags and why we're going to be doing terrible things to everybody, especially the women." And so Huntress is underneath like, "All right, well, that sucks." Anyway, she puts a microphone on the edge of the balcony and then starts scaling her way down. But then as she's scaling down, the guards all see her. So they start firing at her. She does some acrobatics, takes out one or two of them, but then just grapples away. She's like, "It's a good thing about one of these tightly knit towns. There's always a balcony you can latch onto." So she just flies up and gets away. Then we cut to the chairman, who I guess, again, is fleeing his own country looking for asylum. We see him talking to his son, one of the other brothers. And he's like, "All right, well, listen to your brother when he gets back. I'm going to be in Italy living up the good life. And always remember the power of love," or something. I don't know, bye. And so he hops on the ship. Then we cut to Huntress in her civilian gear. She's talking to the reporters. And, like, they know that she's definitely Huntress. But, like, they're still talking like they don't. Like, they're talking like she has secrets. So I don't understand the nature of them helping her. Later on, it gets even more confusing. But anyway, they're just like, "All right, so what are we going to do now?" And he's just like, "I'm just going to make sure that Moretti pays for his crimes." And clearly he's not going to be able to fly in. Like, the chairman isn't going to be able to fly in to Italy because of the no-fly zone over Kufra. But that means he's taking a boat because everything in the series has been on boats. So she hops on a boat that Moretti and a bunch of other men are on, and she's like, "All right, I know what I'm doing this time. I'm going to be able to deal with this." So she sneaks in. The first thing she does is she goes up to the radio signal tower and she puts on a scrambler so there is no contact. And they are way out at sea. But she's like, "All right, I'm going to wait until I'm sure everyone's asleep." So she takes a little cat nap before sunup, and they just show the panel of her sleeping, and then she just goes, "It's time." So she goes down into the barracks. She drugs two of the muscle so that they can't do anything. She then starts draining the engines of all of its fuel so it can't go anywhere here from the middle of the sea. An alarm goes off. A couple of men come down in order to see what's going on. They are not the muscle. They're just some guys. And Huntress takes them out pretty easily. So he's like, "All right, only two guys left. And then Moretti. So no big deal." She goes back topside and is immediately slashed by a knife. And he's like, "Okay, I've got a little bit cocky there." Moretti sees her, and he's like, "All right, well, cut off her head, feed her to the sharks." And she's just like, "All right, well, see how that goes." As she beats up the two remaining members of the muscle, immediately Moretti's freaking out. And there's a bunch of enslaved women there on the boat with him. So Huntress just throws a rope to the enslaved women. And it's just like, I leave him at your mercy. I'm assuming you don't have any left. You do as you want. The police will be here soon. And she hops down off the boat. She lands in the reporter's boat. Like, the reporters are there, and they both call her by her name. So again, I'm not sure the nature of their relationship, but she's like, "Oh, are you okay, Helena? You're bleeding a lot." She's like, "It's fine. I'm glad we got this done." And they're like, "Well, they say that Amalfi has been shut down by the army. The chairman arrived there while you were out. So I guess the chairman arrived without problem, but Moretti is officially off the table. And they're just happy to have that done." And that's where it leaves, with the police showing up on Moretti's boat. I gotta be honest, I've never given too much attention to the reporter subplot, because frankly it just seemed like a way for them to get information across to the reader up to this point. But now that it's up for debate as to whether or not the reporters ever actually knew about her secret identity up to this point, now I'm just confused by the whole thing. Maybe that's on me. Maybe I should have been reading more carefully. It's also a bit difficult when they're using a bunch of terms that apply explicitly to, like, Italian politics that I have no knowledge of whatsoever. But regardless, I was just confused as to that whole thing. It doesn't really impact the story at all. The story so far is Moretti is captured, who was the primary draw from issue 1. But now we've moved on to this evil chairman guy from the country of Kufra, but whatever. I'm liking this. We've only got 2 issues left because it is a mini. But I don't know. I'm leaving this with a little bit of, it was a good ending fight scene to take down Moretti. It showed her talents and her skills and stuff like that. But I was just kind of like more focused on the fact of the reporters, because they kept showing up this issue. And it felt like a big part where they have never felt that way before. Maybe I was just not seeing the forest through the trees. But regardless, that was just my personal feelings on it. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6.5. It's fine. There's nothing too wrong with it. It's just a bit confusing for me. Maybe I just should have been reading the rest of the series more closely. I was more focused on the Huntress specific stuff than the reporter side of things. But maybe that was what I should have been. I don't know. Regardless, 6.5. Only 2 issues.